SkyTrak has been making a whole bunch of updates to the SkyTrak Plus since I did my initial review. The question is, have they addressed the biggest issues I've had with it? And are those updates good enough to proudly proclaim it as the best launch monitor under $5,000? Well, let's find out. So I'm not going to do a full rehash of my review. You can go watch that here, or you can read the written version that I've linked to down below. I mostly wanted to cover the updates they have made. I wanted to talk about how my experience has been using it, and if it's a product that I would still recommend. This also feels like a good time to mention, if you're not sure if this is the right launch monitor for you, I got you covered. You go take a quick 20-second quiz. I have linked to it below. You're going to tell me what you are looking for in a launch monitor, and I'm going to give you my best recommendation for the one that I think is the best fit for you. You can go do it while you're watching this video right now. That link is below, and let's get back to the updates for the SkyTrak Plus. So there were a few major critiques I had when I did my initial review. One of them has to do with a lack of native simulator capabilities. So I love the user interface on the SkyTrak Plus, but I wanted to take that same user interface and be able to use it in a simulator. And at the time, you could only use the SkyTrak Plus with third-party options. And one other critique I had of it was that it's primarily suited for indoor use as opposed to outdoor use. So let's go through and talk about all those. What they've improved, some of the mistakes that I made in my initial review, and I also spent a little bit of time comparing this directly to a TrackMan, so if you want to know how accurate it is, I'm going to tell you about that as well. First, let's talk with the simple one, indoor versus outdoor use. So the original SkyTrak that was out for years before the SkyTrak Plus came out was primarily an indoor product. If you were trying to use it outside, it just would not work very well. I was under the assumption during my initial review that this was also the case with the SkyTrak Plus. However, I was wrong. You can use the SkyTrak Plus outside, and I have tested it outside to very good results. The caveat to that is you can only use it off mats. It does not work if you're using it off grass. So if your primary range that you use is grass and you're looking for a launch monitor that you can use both at home and out at the practice range, this is probably not going to be the one for you. However, if the range you use allows you to hit off mats, you're all good. This works really well. The second thing I mentioned is that it just doesn't feel super professional. It feels more consumer oriented. I still think that is true. However, GolfTech, one of the largest golf fitting companies in the world, has bought SkyTrak. And as I understand it, they've put the SkyTrak Plus into every single GolfTech outlet. Well, if it's professional enough for one of the largest club fitters in the world, then it's probably going to be professional enough for you. So this really comes down to what you're looking for. I really like the customizability of the Mevo Plus software, which is another launch monitor that's in this price range. However, especially if you're a beginner and you're not sure what all the metrics do, the SkyTrak Plus is great because you can click on any metric. You can click on spin, attack angle, carry distance, and it will give you a short video explaining exactly what that is and why that's important. So that user-friendly nature of the SkyTrak Plus, I think, is going to appeal to a lot of people. But one of the biggest things I said is I love the user interface. It feels modern, it feels clean, and while it's not as customizable as I would have liked, it still looks great and is going to be perfect for most people. The thing that was a bummer about that is I wish there was a simulator where I could play real courses essentially using that same interface. Well, apparently SkyTrak must have been listening because with the 5.0 update to their software, guess what they added? Simulator access. And I've got to say, it works really well. One of the things that's so great about SkyTrak is it just connects so easily. I've had zero issues connecting it to my phone, to my iPad, and most importantly, I haven't had any issues connecting it to my gaming PC so I can run the simulator software. It just works. Whereas with a couple of their competitors, namely Bushnell and Unicor, I have had all kinds of issues trying to get their software to work on my PC. With all the different connection options that SkyTrak Plus has, it just works seamlessly, and that ease of use is one of the things that I love most about it. Once I made that update to the newest software, I'm very happy to say that it has continued to work flawlessly. I've had absolutely zero problems connecting the SkyTrak Plus to my computer. It flat out just works simply and reliably, and that's all I can ask for in a golf launch monitor. The downside is that in order to get access to the simulator courses, you have to have an added subscription. So first off, you're going to need the SkyTrak Essential subscription, which is $130 a year. That's going to give you access to all the premium training tools, access to third-party software. It's pretty much, as the name would suggest, an essential subscription if you have a SkyTrak. If you buy the SkyTrak Plus and don't have the subscription, literally the only thing you can use is the driving range, which, don't get me wrong, it's great, but if you're spending upwards of $3,000 on a launch monitor, you're going to want all these extra features because that's part of what makes this unit so good. So to get simulator access, you have to have that for $130, and then you have to pay an additional $220 a year for the simulated courses. It's going to include 30 different courses, including Pebble Beach, which I love to see, and a lot of the other courses that are available are similar to ones that you'll find in a TrackMan, depending on which package you are. So I don't know who it is that creates and maps those courses, but I'm guessing there's some sort of licensing agreement or some sort of overlap with TrackMan, because many of the courses that are available on SkyTrak, like Portland Golf Club and Oswego Vigo Lake golf club, kind of random, are also available on the TrackMan that I use at my home club. So all in, if you want to use the SkyTrak Plus to its full potential, it's going to be $350 a year to do so. Now that's a fair amount of money, but it's also less than the $500 Bushnell membership if you want to use the Foresight suite of software. The good news is the implementation is excellent. The software works really well, and being able to start simulated rounds, customize which holes you want to play, customize the conditions, it's all super sleek. The user interface when you're playing works great. You can still get all the metrics you want to see. You can also control whether or not you want to putt or not putt, and let's face it, putting on simulators just kind of sucks, so I usually just turn that off. Although in the sake of being thorough, I did test it out, and it's fine. But if you're truly wanting to play an enjoyable simulator round of golf, I would just turn the putting off because it's not going to be super accurate. Graphically, the courses look really good. It's not quite on the level of Foresight's FSX Play software, but it's pretty close, and I don't think most people are going to have any complaints with it. So all this to say, I'm really excited to see that SkyTrak has been investing in the software and they've been continually making updates, because this is honestly one of the best bang for your buck launch monitors out there. It's user-friendly, it's got a great interface, it's reasonably versatile as long as you don't want to hit off grass, and it uses both a camera-based system and a Doppler-based system to give you the most accurate results possible. But speaking of accuracy, I recently went in and I tested it indoors against a TrackMan system. This is not an overly scientific test. I took 3 shots each with my gap wedge, my 7-iron, and my driver, and I was looking at 4 different metrics, specifically carry distance, spin rate, club head speed, and side spin. And so what I found was mostly really good. So for instance, with my gap wedge, when you're talking carry distance, there was a less than 1% difference on average. Like, it was almost the same number across my tests, which was great. With driver, the numbers were also impressive. It was less than a 2% difference on average. I didn't have a single shot that was more of a 4-yard difference between the TrackMan and the SkyTrak Plus. However, what was kind of weird was my 7-iron. It was less reliable in terms of carry distance than either my driver or gap wedge. Usually I've found it's my mid-irons where these comparisons are going to be the most accurate. When you increase spin a lot with your wedges, or you increase distance and club head speed with your driver, that's where some of these are going to vary. But when you're going kind of right down the middle with your mid-irons, usually you don't see that much trouble. So with my 7-iron, with each of those 3 shots, the difference was between 4 and 6 yards. The SkyTrak Plus consistently added about 5 yards to my 7-iron when compared to the TrackMan. So is it so far off that it's a total deal breaker? No. Could it have just been a fluke that those 3 shots were for some reason off? Absolutely. And I'm especially not concerned considering the gap wedge and the driver were both pretty close, so this isn't necessarily something I would be overly concerned about. Spin rates on the 7-iron and my driver were almost dead on. They were within a few hundred RPMs on every single shot across the board. Once I got up to my gap wedge and the spin rate was much higher, there was a little bit more of a variance between 700 and 1,000 RPMs across the board, but considering we're talking like 9,000 RPMs, that again is not something that I'm really overly concerned about. It was close enough to be useful for the things I would use it for. Club head speed across the board was almost identical. The biggest variation I had was a 2-mile-per-hour difference on one driver swing, but everything else was less than half a mile per hour different. However, with all of this, the metric that was the most off was that side spin. So figuring out how far things are moving left and right, which is obviously very important when you're playing simulator golf. Now, this is something I want to do a little bit more testing on before making any definitive conclusions, but at least in the testing that I have done, it seemed like the SkyTrak was essentially doubling the side carry that the TrackMan would give me. So if the TrackMan said I was 20 feet to the right, then the SkyTrak would say closer to 40. If I really sliced one and the TrackMan said I was like 60 or 70 feet to the right, then the SkyTrak would have me at 120 or 130. So while it always got the direction right, it seemed like it was amplifying how far it was actually going. I'm going to continue to test this, and I will update that in my written review that I have linked below as soon as I have any more definitive information, and if there's anything I find out that's super dramatic, I'll shoot another YouTube video about it. Taking all that into account, I honestly think this is one of the best launch monitors you can get at any price. It's easy to use and consumer friendly, yet it still gives you enough data points to really allow you to drill down on your game when you want to. It's got great practice modes, a great user interface, and now it has one of the best simulator solutions as well. The $350 total subscription to be able to use all of those features is definitely going to be a downside to some, but I honestly think it does represent a pretty good value for what you get, as long as this is a tool that you're going to be using on a regular basis. Can I definitively say it is the best launch monitor under $5,000 or under $3,000? No, because the reality is which one is right for you is going to be different depending on what your needs are. If you hate subscriptions and want a product with the most features and the most flexibility, the Mevo Plus might be a better fit. If you want something a lot less expensive, then the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro also fared pretty favorably to the TrackMan from an accuracy standpoint. It just doesn't have quite all the high-end features of other launch monitors. If you want a built-in screen, then you're probably going to consider the Full Swing Kit or the Bushnell or the Unicore. But aside from that built-in screen, if you want a product that pretty much does everything really well, then the SkyTrak is definitely one to consider. I've really enjoyed using it. With that, my name's Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking 80, where we talk about cool golf products and cool golf reviews. If you're still not sure which launch monitor is right for you, go take our 20-second quiz. You're going to answer a few questions, and I'm going to give you my best recommendation based on your needs. We also have a recent Best Golf Launch Monitors video where I talk about what the best budget one is, what the best built-in screen is, what the best overall is. So as you're doing your research, I would highly recommend you go check that out. I will link that right here, and I hope you have an excellent day. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.